I can agree with most of these, I think.
Not all of them.
I guess we'll see which ones you're picking.
The ones that are circled.
Because someone's going to be like, that's not an easy game to play.
Well, it's our list.
Truth.
Yeah. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games
and
board gamey things.
Exactly. We once did, not too long ago, a video about the hardest games to table. So today, we're going in the opposite direction. We're talking about the easiest games to table. What's happening?
You had a hair on your nose and it was bugging me.
Oh. What is the definition of easiest games to table? It just means that there is extremely minimal setup. It doesn't mean that the game is super simple to play, though most of these are. If you want something, you're like, oh, who's got the time for setup? Not me. I'm a busy woman.
So you mean like box, open, play?
Pretty much. Minimal setup, not no setup.
Minimal.
Minimal setup.
Minimal.
Minimal setup.
Minimal.
Minimal setup.
Minimal.
Is crokinole, but that's not on here. Okay, so we have 10 games to talk about. I made this list and Jeff doesn't really know what's on it, except he's looking at it right now. And I wanted to pick some games that we don't talk about as often.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
I'm not gonna talk about Silver Bullet or Fantasy Rounds, because we talk about those all the time. You know that they're easy.
Different.
Exactly.
Difference.
A little bit of different. So we're going to be talking about 10 games. These are in no particular order. It's just 10 games to make your life a little bit easier. So the first game that we're going to talk about is called Null and Nishtig. And I believe this is by Amigo Games. This is a game that is a trick-taking game. And it is a German trick-taking game. Jeffrey, tell the people about Null and Nishtig.
So in Null and Nishtig, it's kind of a different take on trick-taking. You're going to have piles in front of you, and the piles are all designated by different colors. You score based off what the topmost card is on your pile, from 0 to 11. So during a trick, regardless of color, the highest number is going to win the trick. For example, if I started with an 11 yellow, because I wanted 11 yellow to be in front of me to score off of that, and everyone else puts zeros, so 0, green, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to win the trick and take the 11 yellow, but then I've just put 3 zeros on my other piles.
Not great for an end score.
Not great. So it's just a really interesting take. It's really mean. It's a very mean trick-taking game that I think is a bit unique because, again, it's not just about winning tricks. It's about winning tricks, but getting the right colors to put on your pile. It's almost more beneficial to win like mid-range tricks where you get like a 4 and a 5 or, you know, a 6 of different colors that you add to your pile, because the piles are always evolving with different cards being on top. It's very mean. It's very fun. It's just put cards out and play.
It's just a deck of cards.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So you can get this to the table very easily, and you can play this with so many people. So it is also just an accessible game.
Definitely.
I would say. Although I don't know how accessible it is to buy in North America.
I don't know either. It's definitely one I would like to add to the collection. I also think it's language independent, which is great.
Yeah, it's just numbers.
It's just numbers and colors.
Yeah. Now the next one is one that we have been playing all the time. And how we know that a game is easy to table is if we can play it on the couch while we're sitting there doing other things. So that game is Boomerang Australia. This is like my new Silver Bullet.
Jamie does like Boomerang Australia.
I love this game so much, and it was just one that I bought on a whim. This is a draft and write game where each player has 7 cards, and then you are picking a card, pick and pass, pick and pass, pick and pass, till you have 7 cards, and then you score accordingly based on a bunch of different scoring mechanisms. So whether that be different areas, pairs of animals, flowers, all of these things have different scoring objectives. That's the entire game. So the setup is literally just a deck of cards. Each player gets 7, a little pad, and a pencil. That's it. I love it. It's super, super fun. If you love roll and writes, flip and writes, whatever, I think that you would definitely like this. It comes in 3 different variations. It comes in Boomerang USA, Boomerang Europe, and Australia. I've only played Europe and Australia, but Australia is my favorite one. Very easy to set up. Does not take up a lot of table space. We have played this on a ferry. This will be a go-to travel game for us, I think. So
we just played it on the couch.
Yeah, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
Okay, the next game that we're going to talk about is called Strike. And this is from Ravensburger. Jeffrey, tell the people about Strike.
Strike is really a dice chucking game in its purest form.
Yes.
So a box of Strike, when you open it, is going to be basically a bowl, but it represents a gladiatorial arena. And the
That's a big word.
dice are your gladiators. And ultimately, there will be dice in the arena that you're going to throw your dice into. And you can choose how many dice to throw and yada yada. Ultimately, what you want to have happen is your dice to be pulled out. So if you throw your dice in and there's matches, you can pull those dice out and add them to your pool, your gladiators. If nothing matches, they have to stay in. Ultimately, you're just trying to be the first person to have dice remaining. The more dice you lose into the arena, the more you bet on throwing in, the more you lose, the quicker you're going to be eliminated. That's the game.
Process of elimination.
It is so fun. We played this in a huge group at PAX Unplugged.
Yep.
And people were just watching it. People were laughing. It might be one of the simplest games to get non-gamers into.
Yes.
It's so easy. It's literally open the box. That's your bowl. That's your arena and your dice. Yeah. That's the game. And you're just throwing stuff in. I really, really enjoy Strike.
Probably of every game on the list, the easiest to set up. All you do is take off the lid.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's it. So the next game that we're going to talk about is called Regicide from Badgers from Mars. I almost said Biker Mice from Mars, which is a great TV show from when we were kids.
That's an old cartoon.
I loved that show. Regicide, once again, this is a 52 card deck, essentially. All you're doing is dealing out cards. There's going to be some cards in the middle, and there is an app component. So you just have it on your phone, and that you don't need to use the app, but it's a scoring thing. So you don't even need it. And you're cycling through your cards trying to defeat the jacks, kings, and queens. Jacks, queens, and kings throughout the game. And each suit of card has different abilities that can affect how you attack. It is a cooperative game, but it is easy to table because it is just a deck of cards.
You could play this with a traditional deck of cards.
Yes, you don't even need the actual game. You can print the rules from online. You can have the rules on your phone, look it up, whatever.
I will say the artwork on the cards is incredible.
Yeah.
It's worth having the actual set of cards, in my opinion, but you could play it without it.
And it is so close to like traditional card games that it's also, once again, an accessible game that you could get non-board gamers to play. Perfect game for travel. It literally is a deck of cards that fits in your pocket. They didn't try to do some overly produced like large square box for a deck of cards, which many games do. Yeah, you just deal with the cards, put your kings, queens, and jacks in the middle.
It's very challenging too.
It's a very challenging game, yes, but super easy to table. And I really, really enjoy it. Next one we have is called Cathedral World. Jeffrey?
Cathedral World is a take on Cathedral. So I'll just lump them both here because they're basically the same game. Just the components are a little bit different. Cathedral has wooden blocks. Cathedral World has,
resin.
I don't know if they're resin, but like some other material buildings. In Cathedral World, you have what looks like a chessboard without the designated spots. And you'll have a bunch of pieces on your side of the board that represent buildings that are different polynomial.
That's the one, Jeff.
Polynomial shapes, just like Tetris pieces. And the goal is to be the first person to get all their pieces on the board. The cool mechanic with this is if you connect an area, so let's just say in a straight line you had all of your buildings lined up, you've blocked off an area for your opponent to be able to place pieces. Let's just say I have created a square of buildings like this, and this space is empty. Only I can place my buildings in that space.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
And ultimately, again, you're just trying to place out all of your pieces. All you're doing is putting a board down and placing out pieces.
This is literally a game that you would leave on a coffee table. That's how easy it is to set up.
Yeah, all you need is
the game.
And
you can leave it out.
Yeah, you can leave it out. You can pick it up and play it when you want, which is probably what we're going to do with our copy.
Yep. One table's going to have Crokinole. One table's going to have Cathedral World. And that's how we're going to live our lives.
Yep.
Next up, we have a game called Air, Land, and Sea, or my preferred version, Critters at War. Same game, different artwork, basically.
Yep.
So this game, once again, it's just cards. All you're doing to set up is you are laying out 3 theaters of war, air, land, and sea in the middle. They're like larger cards, shuffling up the deck, handing out cards to each player, and playing. So within this game, you are trying to, over a certain number of rounds, I think it's 3 or 4 rounds, you are trying to win 2 of the 3, the majority of the theaters of war, by laying out cards that have different effects to affect either what you can do or what your opponent can do. It's a 2-player only game. It takes up a little bit of space and like basically no time to set up, and it is so good for what it is. It's just cards. It has a lot of strategy within it, and you have pretty limited cards that you have access to. So you really have to think about maximizing the cards that you have in order to win. There's also an element of this game where you can withdraw in order to make your opponent gain less points than they would if they outright won. I really love this game. Like I said, Critters at War is my preferred. It's only because it's cuter. They're the exact same game otherwise. I always win this game.
Jamie tends to win this game very frequently.
Okay, next up we have Land versus Sea.
Not air, land, and sea.
Very similar.
Land versus sea.
Similar in terms of names.
Land versus sea is it 2-player only?
No, you can technically play with 3 and 4.
Oh, but it's cooperative.
It's teams at 4, and at 3 there's a cartographer element, but we haven't played it at 3.
Land versus sea is a very simple tile placement game where you are just trying to match up terrain. One person is playing as the land, one person is playing as the sea. All the tiles have different terrain types on them. There's iconography on the tiles that allow you to score bonus, like there's caravans. If you develop a caravan route, that's the game. You're drafting your tiles and you're placing them out into this sprawling map in order to basically build out the biggest land mass of your terrain type that you can. And you do that by completing the borders around. So really what you're trying to do is place down tiles that shore up your areas, but also open up things for your opponent. If I see Jamie is 1 tile away from closing a big sea area, I could play a tile of mine to open it back up, and she has to work again to close it back down. But very simple. It's just tiles. All you need is a table, and that's it. You
have to pull out the center tile, but the rest of the stacks you just kind of stack up, and that's it. Easy.
You can play in under 5 minutes for sure.
What?
You can be playing. Sorry, you can be playing in under 5 minutes.
I was like, Speed Land versus Sea. That's a new version. The next game that we're going to talk about is called Deja Vu. This is a game that we got to play at GaggleCon, and it is just a fun kind of dexterity-esque, speed-esque, memory definitely kind of game where all you're doing is you're setting cards in the middle that have images on them, and then you have different cardboard tokens of all different shapes and pictures and things like ducks and life jacket and a lifesaver, and maybe there's a cocktail, or maybe there's a shoe and a compass and a clock, bunch of things set in the middle. All you're doing in this game is at one at a time, you're going to be flipping a card and you're going to be looking at what's on that card. And if you think that it's the second time that you've seen that card, you are going to try and grab that item from the ring of things. If for some reason you thought you saw something twice and you grabbed it, let's call it a shoe, and then a card flips later and there's the shoe, you're out. Because that means you have terrible memory and you're not allowed to play with us anymore. You are at the end of the round, you're trying to see like how many things you got right. If you got any of them wrong, you're out. So whoever gets the most points wins. That is the game. So the setup is literally deck of cards in the middle, sprinkle the different things around. And that's it. And you gotta be quick. It is so much fun. I personally love this game. It is a very Jamie game. I'm very quick. I got good memory. Jeff, maybe a little bit less so.
I liked it.
You liked it?
Yep.
Right.
I'm not great at them.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we played Ghost Blitz.
Yeah.
I got destroyed in Ghost Blitz.
So it's very similar to that, though. You're just kind of like, everybody's got their hands, and it's all reaction. And what happens is you're playing over various rounds. So you start to think, oh, did I see that this round or was that last round? And your memory starts playing tricks on you. But super easy to set up. Another one that like anybody could play.
I like those moments where everyone sees a thing and they're like, oh, and they put their hand over it, but then everyone's like, wait. And then they're like, they go back and they're like, was that last round? And then someone like grabs it. Oh, it's so fun.
My favorite is when we were playing, we played with Rodney, and he would grab something and he'd be like, I'm a little concerned that none of you also went to go grab this. And it's like, because that didn't come up before. So.
If you're the only person grabbing something, it's like, oh, God.
Oh, what have I done? The next game that we have on the list is called La Boca.
La Boca is a really fun little like puzzle game where it's wooden blocks and you'll have prompts. You use the box as like a platform to build your little blocks up onto. And so let's just say I'm sitting across from Jamie. We will have a two-sided prompt where it shows colors and blocks in a certain pattern. I have to make that pattern show for me, and Jamie has to make her pattern show. So we have to work together to place the blocks on this board in the correct patterns, and then we're good.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's on a timer, so it's basically like
certain amount of
it's
points.
A real-time game. If you complete it in under 10 seconds, you'll get a crap ton of points. You know, the longer you take, the less points you get, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. It's just blocks. It's just a little prompt card that you can cycle through.
And the box is the board.
And the box is the board, and, you know, you need a bit of a timer. It's so funny when you're going back and forth because there's a really strategic way that these blocks are all, again, like Tetris-type pieces. There's always a solution. I remember one time we were playing, and I was like, it's not lining up for me. I think it was Rodney was like, well, it's fine for me. And I was like, oh my God, like how is it fine for you? It can't be, because there's no way. And then we'd figure it out. It's so fun.
And the very last game that we have on our list today is Abandon All Artichokes. Another game that's just cards, and it comes in this cute little artichoke tin. And all you're doing is you're laying out a garden row. You start with a hand of artichokes, and you're trying to get rid of all your artichokes by using the vegetable cards that are in the middle that you're going to be adding to your hand that help you to get rid of your artichokes before your opponent gets rid of theirs. That's it. The setup is literally, here's your hand of 7 artichokes and here's a garden row. That's it. It's super easy to play. It's easy to travel with. I love it. I don't think you love it quite as much as I do.
No, you definitely like it. I don't mind it. If people want to play it, I'll absolutely play it.
It's very cute. That's the last one. There's really not much more to say. It's pretty simple. That's literally it. You're just gaining cards to get rid of your artichokes. The first one with no artichokes wins. And then you're done.
Yep.
So those are 10 games that we find really easy to table. But you know what the easiest games to table are? Games on BGA. All you need is your laptop. Let us know down below what are some of your go-to games if you just don't really want to spend the time setting up a game like Dinosaur World as an example. You just want to get something to the table really quickly so that you can get playing really quickly. Let us know. If you're interested in buying board games like any of the many that we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us here in Halifax, that is
Boardroom Game Cafe.
Yes. That's all that we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later days. Sorry, you put me on the spot. I gotta remember how to play this. You have piles.
Yeah.
The winning of the trick is the weird one.
Regicide in the middle. You're
bouncing around here.
Sure am. Another guard.